Hello everyone, and welcome to the Organizational Academy session for AIESEC 2020 and AIESEC International Priorities. In this session, we will be answering three key questions. First, what is AIESEC 2020? Second, what is the connection between AIESEC 2020 and the AIESEC Way? And third, what are the term priorities of the AIESEC International team for the 2017-2018 term? And throughout this space, I'm going to be your facilitator. This is Alex. I'm your member committee president for the year 2017-2018, and I'm really excited to talk with you more about AIESEC 2020. I was lucky enough to be present at the International Congress in India in 2015 when we first began building AIESEC 2020, so it's been a really central part of my AIESEC experience and one I'm excited to share with you. So before we get started with any content, we're actually going to start with an activity. So I'm going to set a timer for 30 seconds, and in that time, I would like you to list all of the things you think of when you hear midterm ambition. It can be related to AIESEC, it can be unrelated to AIESEC, just what do you think of when you hear this phrase? Ready? Go. Okay, time's up. So I hope you were able to get some things down on paper, get some of your ideas out, and I hope that some of the things you wrote down are going to align to what you're going to be learning in this session. Because when we talk about the midterm ambition of AIESEC, we're talking about AIESEC 2020. So when we talk about AIESEC 2020, we use a metaphor. This was the metaphor that it was first explained to me with, and I really like it. And it's to imagine AIESEC 2020 as one part of a yin and yang of this two intertwined parts that make the whole that is AIESEC. So on one side, we have our organizational essence. We have the core of the organization, the thing that never changes across time, across realities, across contexts. And then we also have our progress, the way that as an organization we're measuring milestones, we're measuring achievement on the path to our organizational mission. And these two things together form the organization that we're a part of today. And in AIESEC, those things are the AIESEC Way and AIESEC 2020. So the AIESEC Way is our organizational essence. It is the core of the organization, the thing that doesn't change across time, reality, context. And hopefully by this time in the Academy series, or at this point in your AIESEC experience, you are more familiar with what is the AIESEC Way and how it's the why, how, and what of our organization. On the other hand, we have AIESEC 2020. So as you know from the AIESEC Way and from your time in AIESEC, AIESEC's mission is that we strive for peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. But of course, that's not something that we're going to achieve overnight. It's not something we're even likely to achieve in the next decade. And so when we have such a long-term organizational mission, and we're in this for the long term, I mean, we've been around for 70 years already. We've got, we hope more than 70 years ahead of us. And when we're in such a long-term push for peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential, it would be easy to get lost along the way. And so we have midterm ambitions. Every 5 years, the entire global plenary comes together to plan shorter-term, 5-year chapters of goals, targets, ambitions, so that we know that we're making progress every 5 years in the organization. And so right now, from 2015 until 2020, we're in the 2020 midterm ambition. And like we just said, the AIESEC Way is that organizational essence. You should know all these things by now, the why, the how, the what of the organization, all striving for peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. And so AIESEC 2020, this current midterm ambition, has three key parts. The first part are statements, the second part are strategies, and the third part is the roadmap. So when you talk about AIESEC 2020, you have to actually talk about all three of these things to really deeply understand what we mean when we say it is our midterm ambition. So we're going to go through each part of these, each part of AIESEC 2020. So first are the statements. So the statements, there are four. The statements are basically the definition we want to have of AIESEC in the year 2020. So imagine you wake up in 2020, and you describe AIESEC to someone, we want all of these statements to be true statements about AIESEC. The first is that we are a youth leadership movement. So to take that a bit further, we are a movement with one cause, peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. We easily engage youth and like-minded organizations around the globe to act as one. When people think of leadership development, they think of AIESEC. This is really that stepping up from just an organization or even just a club to a youth leadership movement. Shaping what we do around what the world needs. Being aware of global and local issues, we act quickly to respond to them by offering powerful leadership experiences. We collaborate with like-minded organizations that, like us, strive for a better world. Through this, we take part in global and local decision-making processes. And the third statement is being accessible to everyone, everywhere. Anyone can experience AIESEC, be it physically, virtually, directly, indirectly. We actively break our geographical and social barriers to make it possible for every young person in the world to live an AIESEC experience. And finally, growing disruptively. Doing the same things is not enough to one day engage and develop every young person in the world. Being disruptive means for us to challenge the way we think and act as an organization. We find innovative ways to grow faster and be better. Every AIESECer seeks for solutions and acts upon them every day. We are an AIESEC that is able to grow from 5 to 500 within a few weeks. And so these are the 4 statements, and they have these longer explanations, and they help us stay on the same page about what we are working towards for AIESEC 2020, but they still lack some detail about what do we do on a daily basis over this 5-year period to make sure that we're working towards our organizational mission. And so that's why we also have the strategies. So the strategies are 5 areas that we've chosen to work in as a global organization to develop the organization into the entity we want it to be by the year 2020. And these 5 areas, we'll go through each of them. The first is AIESEC experience, improve and invent, plug and play, constantly improving current products and inventing new ones to become more relevant to the markets and accessible to young people and to provide more and better experiences. So as you know, we have 3 AIESEC products. We have GV, GT, and GE, Global Volunteer, Global Entrepreneur, and Global Talent. And we're always looking at making those products better or considering the necessity of introducing new products. For our strategy line number 2, we have expansions, physical and virtual. AIESEC being accessible in all the territories, be it physically or virtually, directly or indirectly. Growth and support for current expansion, sustainability, and fast growth in future expansions. 2 great examples of this are AIESEC in Fiji. It's one of the most recent physical AIESEC expansions that now has AIESEC members living and working in Fiji. And also Saudi Arabia is an example of a virtual expansion. It is a virtually allocated market of AIESEC in Bahrain. So AIESEC in Bahrain is working to send young people in AIESEC in Saudi Arabia on exchange, even though there is no physical AIESEC presence in that country. Strategy line 3, organizational design and evolution. Evolving the way we run AIESEC to become fast, agile, and empower our members to find solutions on everyday level. And this strategy line has a lot of work about talent management and organizational development. How are we attracting members, retaining members? How are we structuring our local committees to make sure that we're able to achieve our goals? Strategy line 4 is open, multi-sided platform and customer experience, being ahead of the curve in the way we acquire, service, and deliver value to our customers. And this is bringing all of those websites that we have together into one digital ecosystem, really bringing the Youth Opportunity Portal, the Partner Opportunity Portal, and EXPA together into one AIESEC.org. And strategy line 5 is organizational legality and financial sustainability, ensuring that we are 100% legal and sustainable in our operations at all levels. And this is really important because we are working to make sure every AIESEC entity is legally established and is financially sound, because without those 2 things, the organization really has no future. And so these are the 5 strategy lines, the 5 areas that we're working in for AIESEC 2020. And so these are definitely more specific than just the 4 statements of 2020, but it can still be taken a step further to know what we need to do on a daily basis to keep AIESEC aligned globally and working towards the same goal. And that's where the roadmap comes in. And so as you know now, the AIESEC 2020 is a 5-year midterm ambition. It lasts from 2015 to 2020. But we've taken it a step further and we've broken down that midterm ambition into 1-year roadmaps. So for each year of the midterm ambition, we have a 1-year roadmap, and it's a list of projects that we as a global organization are working to achieve in that 1-year period in order to move on to the next stage, the next evolution, and in order to get closer to that midterm ambition. So this is an image of the 1718 roadmap, the one that right now every entity around the world is working on, and we're about 1/4 of the way through this roadmap. So you can see the 5 strategy lines across the top. You can see the blue boxes below that. Those are just categories for organizing the projects. And then you can see that the 2 different types of green projects are the different categories of roadmap projects that we have. So we have the brighter, darker green color, improve ELD, LDA embedded into TM, AIESEC Hub implementation, implementation of customer flow, finance standards implementation, and accounting software. Those are the 6 foundational roadmap projects. Those are the projects that every AIESEC entity should be working on to make sure that AIESEC is moving in the same direction and that we're developing the organization at least the baseline level. So those are things that here in AIESEC United States, the MC is actively working on, and many of the things that you're doing at the local level are also contributing to this. One example would be that you're contributing to AIESEC Hub implementation by taking this course on the global hub. The rest of the projects, that lighter green color, improve and invent EWA, EWA measurement and tracking, and so on, those are the non-foundational projects. So those are the roadmap projects that we agree as a global organization need to be worked on this year, and they need to be accomplished this year. However, they don't necessarily need every single entity in the entire world working on them at the exact same time. So these projects have groups of about 10 or so pilot entities that have come together to work on the project, and at the end of the year, when they successfully complete the project, they'll be able to share their learnings with the rest of the global plenary. And if you're curious, the 3 projects that AIESEC United States is currently a part of are talent attraction in Strategy Line 3, and digitalizing value delivery and partners attraction and conversion in Strategy Line 4. So that is the contribution AIESEC United States is making outside of the 6 foundational projects to the 1718 Global Roadmap. And so now you know what AIESEC 2020 is. You know that AIESEC 2020 has statements, it has strategies, and it has a roadmap. And all of those parts together create our midterm ambition, and they create the organization that we're striving to develop in this 5-year period. And we're about halfway there now. This midterm ambition will complete in the year 2020, at which point we will start developing AIESEC 2025. So now that we've talked about what we're fighting for as a global organization, it's important to talk about who are the people in the global office that are helping all of us to make this happen. So this is a picture of your AIESEC International team for the year 2017-2018. It's a group of really awesome people from all over the world that have come together in our global headquarters in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, to spend 1 year working on making the 1718 roadmap happen and to ensure that the organization is getting closer to AIESEC 2020. So I have a few videos for you to share directly from them to tell you a little bit more about who they are as a team, what they stand for, and what is their plan for the 1-year term they have in the global office.
We are the product of 70 generations,
upholding peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential.
We stay true to who we are
In everything we do.
We embody what it means
to be an AIESECer every single day,
We aspire to achieve fulfillment of our own potential.
while living and loving our experience to the fullest.
Excuses do not exist in our dictionary.
Only accountability to what we promise.
We foster an organization where failure is only viewed
As an opportunity to learn. We look beyond our current moment.
We aspire every day.
To create more impact.
We bless this.
Those truths we would never get to see.
As a generation, we believe we can do more.
And be more through being one.
We are never too big.
With the small things.
Our dreams are not fiction.
They are as real as our actions.
And as big as our courage to make them happen.
And so now that you know a little bit about who these people are, those were some of the phrases and the words they're using to describe how they came to their team stand. We're going to take it a step further and go into what is their plan for their term. And we'll look at that team stand again one more time. So this video has no audio, so I will get to talk you through it. This is just a really quick summary of the AIESEC International Term Plan for the 17-18 term. It shows the targets and the projects that they're working on for their year. Again, this is your AIESEC International team for the 17-18 year, and their team stand is Raised to be Real, Alive to Fulfill, Generation 1720. And so you can see that they're keeping in mind 2020 in their generational stand, and Raised to be Real is about staying true to that core of the organization, Alive to Fulfill, about delivering on the promises we made, specifically with the roadmap. You can even see they take it further and offer deeper explanation of their team stand. You can see the colors gray and red. And here, AIESEC International is working to build an ecosystem and empower the movement. They're not looking to be a top-down organization, they're looking to be at the center of a collaborative network. And these are the 7 particular projects that they're going to be working on in their term, that they're going to be fighting for as a team. And the first one is working for the WHO, really focusing on the core of the organization and focusing on the core of what it means to be an AIESECer, which it is to live the 6 AIESEC values. Focusing on the leadership we develop, which this is AIESEC's leadership development model. This is our core business model, delivering standards which facilitate an inner and outer journey, and in turn allow young people to develop their leadership potential, and these 4 leadership development qualities. They're also working on building a seamless digital ecosystem, bringing together EXPA, POP, YOP, all of our online presence into one AIESEC.org. We also have our own internal brand, Youth for Global Goals, which is a brand that we're promoting to show activation of youth for the Sustainable Development Goals. We're working on making AIESEC more sustainable. You saw in Strategy Line 5 of the roadmap, we're working on legal and financial sustainability for every AIESEC entity, and these are the 6 specific areas in which we're going to focus on as a global organization to make sustainability happen. We're also working on creating purposeful partnerships. So not just partnerships for money or not just partnerships for big names, but partnerships with organizations that share values with AIESEC. This is your AIESEC International team. There's lots of them, and they have different sub-teams inside of the larger team working on different aspects of organizational development. AIESEC International is working on the roadmap. They're working on making the foundational projects happen and also making all of the non-foundational projects happen. They have prioritized the non-foundational projects. They work on a few at first, and as those projects are successfully completed, they move on to the rest, so that by the end of the 17-18 term, we have every single roadmap project completed. They also have product couples, 6 specific people on AI working to make sure that our products, those 3 exchange products, are further developed. And we have 3 global boards, which are support networks for AIESEC International to work on expansions, on global finances, and global exchange controls. And so the bottom line of all of this, like all of this plan, all of these ideas, all these projects, they are all working towards making sure that AIESEC International is able to support AIESEC globally to fulfill 100% of the targets in the 17-18 roadmap, and also to make sure that the 17-18 roadmap is 100% implemented around the global plenary. And these are those people. This is the AIESEC International team, and they are working to make this organization move forward, and they're living their team stand. So their team identity is Raised to be Real, Alive to Fulfill, Gen 1720. It's true to who they are as people and who they are as a team, and it's part of their promise to the global plenary about who they're going to be as the global headquarters of this organization. And so that is a very quick overview of your AIESEC International team for 17-18 and their term plan. So at this point in our time together, you should know what is AIESEC 2020. You should also know what is the connection between AIESEC 2020 and the AIESEC way. And finally, you should know what are the term priorities of AIESEC International 17-18. And now that you know those things, I have a challenge for you. As an executive board member of AIESEC United States, I'd like to ask you, do you think every member of your team in your local committee could explain AIESEC 2020 to me without preparation? If I called them right now and asked them to explain 2020 to me, would they know about the statements? Do they know anything about the strategies or the roadmap? And if not, what can you do to change that? Can you plan an activity for your next functional time? Maybe a competition, maybe you watch a video together, maybe you just have some conversations. But what can you do to ensure that every member of your team and every member of your local committee has the same knowledge about what our progress is as an organization, what our midterm ambition is, what we're working on, because they're a part of Generation 2020, so it's important that they know what that means. If you have any questions or you just want to talk more about AIESEC 2020 or about AIESEC International, please reach out. I really enjoyed talking about these topics, and I would love to discuss it further with you. So thank you so much for being here with me in this space. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you were able to learn something new and further solidify the things that you already knew about the organization. So thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of your academies.